Hello, Audioholics, this is Logan, and welcome back to Getting into Trip Hop. Today, we are going to be trying to get into Zero 7. Zero 7 is a team of British producers named Henry Binns and Sam Hardacre, who have been doing a lot of producing work ever since the 1990s and even produced a lot of big names like Pet Shop Boys and Robert Plant, who, as many of you might know, is the singer of Led Zeppelin, who went solo in the 80s and did a lot of kind of really easy listening kind of blues pop. In the 2000s, they started doing their own music, starting in 2001 and continuing to this day. The albums I'm going to be looking at today are When It Falls, which is considered to be their best album. It was released in 2004, and Yeah Ghost, which was released in 2009, which marks a bit of a departure in sound for them, with a new vocalist and a more pop-oriented direction. So before we begin, I suppose I should do my customary pimping. If you are interested in other episodes in getting into trip hop, I've done a few so far, then there will be a playlist down below in the description. There will also be a playlist in the description for my co-host Tyler, who is getting into prog music. He's done a whole bunch of things as well, including Dream Theater, King Crimson, Gentle Giant, and also, if you're interested in tier lists of bands that you might like, check out The Wrong Opinion. And if you want a more kind of off-the-cuff kind of podcast vibe where we give our reactions to albums that we're listening to, sometimes for the first time, then check out Audioholics Unite. So, without further ado, let's get into When It Falls by Zero 7. So the first song is aptly titled Warm Sound. I really love the vocals on this. I really like the vibe of this. It's really atmospheric. Definitely a lot of jazz influence. A lot of soul, especially in the vocals, but also just sort of in the overall sound of the instruments as well. A lot of deep bass. It's really good. Very, very strong opener. Alright, we are on Home now. This features Tina Deco. The first song, by the way, I forgot to mention, featured Moses, I assume that's pronounced. Really kind of soothing. Almost sounds like... kind of reminds me of like a 70s AM rock sound. Like Elton John, Billy Joel, Dave and Loggins, that type of thing. It's really soothing. It has a lot of like kind of really soothing acoustic guitars in the mix. Again, jazz influence. A lot of unique instruments throughout. In the last song, there was like a flute section at the end. Really powerful vocals, I assume from Tina. And just overall really, really good. So now we are on Somersault featuring, can you believe it, pop star sensation Sia. Like Cheap Thrills, Chandelier, Titanium, Sia. Do I even need to tell you she can sing? Of course she can, she's Sia. But beyond that, really good string section. There's a really good keyboard as well. All really good music. This is a fantastic album so far. We are on Over Our Heads now. This is again featuring Moses. And this is a very good, soothing ballad. Relatively minimalist, no drums or anything. Just acoustic, a string section, and a bass. Gets the message across, though. Really relaxing. Really fits the atmosphere of the lyrics. And I have really nothing negative to say about this or anything else on this album so far. Very good. We are on Passing By. This is the first of two songs to feature Sophie Baker. Very dream pop sound to it, and honestly, just kind of pop sound in general. Has very dreamlike synthesizers and keyboards. Sophie Baker's voice has a lot of reverb to it, adding to that dreamlike atmosphere. Very spacey. A lot of instrumentation put into this. Just really good for what it is. So we are on the title track now, When It Falls. This is the first of two instrumental tracks that don't feature anybody. And this might be the worst song on the album. I'll have to reserve judgment until we get to other songs on the album, but namely the other instrumental. But it doesn't really go anywhere. It's not really all that impressive. It doesn't really give off any kind of major vibe other than just elevator music. I mean, it's some degree, I guess it is impressive on a technical basis, but not enough to really carry the song. It has a lot of instruments. Like, this is like the first song I think that has like any kind of electric guitar. It kind of reminds me of like Pink Floyd almost in its sound, which would be good, but again, like Pink Floyd knew better how to play with atmosphere in music, and these guys do too, just not with this song. Overall, I'd say this is the first track that I would probably skip on this album. We are on The Space Between. This is the second of two tracks to feature Dina Deco, or Deso, and this might actually be my favorite off of the album so far. The vocals provide a lot of atmosphere. This kind of reminds me of Pink Floyd, but more so in a good way. Like I said, the vocals provide a lot of atmosphere, but honestly, even if the vocals weren't there would still be a lot of atmosphere in the instruments. And in fact, there is. There's flute in the background. There's a horn section in the background. This might be one of the best songs instrumentally on the album. The best to kind of incorporate that relaxed mood. Just very good. I would say listen to this song first if you want a good taste of what this album is like. We are on Look Up now. This is definitely the better of the two instrumentals by far. A lot of instrumentation, a much better hook, a much more memorable hook, rather. Just a little bit of everything. There's even like some like choir singing in the background. There's some harmonica. There's a lot of good drumming. A lot of good, just everything. It's like a cacophony of really good. So, yeah, by far, definitely the better of the two instrumentals. We are on In Time. This is the second of two songs to feature Sophie Baker. Again, very dreamlike atmosphere. I should have a drinking game every time I say atmosphere or atmospheric or any other derivative of the term atmosphere. This is a lot more simple than some songs on the album. Not like a whole lot of instrumentation. Pretty cut back, I think, which is good. It's a good idea to have some songs like that. So I can't fault it too much. I wouldn't say it's my favorite on the album, but it's definitely not bad. So we are on Speed Dial number 2. Does anybody remember Speed Dial? Do smartphones even have a Speed Dial option? I wouldn't think so. I've never seen it. Anyway, this is Speed Dial number 2, the second of two tracks to feature Sia. It's definitely really interesting to hear Sia in this sort of more reserved tone. Usually she's just been belting it for the past 10 years with, titanium, chandelier, things like that. Here she's more reserved, and she kind of has to be, obviously, to fit the tone of the song, but very similar words to say in terms of tone, atmosphere, very dreamlike atmosphere, a lot of synthesizer, a lot of really nice, well mixed drums. The mixing itself is really good, kind of mixed in sort of like a jazz manner where everything is really just kind of clean and the drums just really pop out, just really nice. We are on the final track now. This is Morning Song, the third of three songs to feature Moses, which is, yeah, the pronunciation I'm going to go with. Very soulful, as I've come to expect from his style of singing, and also in terms of instrumentals, really soulful. The mix on this song, especially, really pops out. It kind of has like that sort of George Martin ish style of mixing where the instruments are placed in such a way as to sort of mimic the placement of like a live setting. Like the drums would be somewhere in the middle, guitar might be somewhere on the left, and the vocals might be somewhere like in the middle right. Overall, it's a really good experience and a really nice kind of way to end the album. Really good, like, string section. Just really good. So, overall, my opinion on this album has been very positive and something I would definitely love to listen to again. Now, let's move on to Yeah Ghost. So the first track on Yeah Ghost is Count Me Out. Very nice kind of intro track, basically just a cacophony of noise. Not really much to say about it other than it serves its purpose. We are on Mr. McGee. This is a track featured by Eska, and it has a very bluesy sound, especially in the vocals, but the instrumentation as a whole is very blues-like. That being said, it also has a very electronic influence, similar to a lot of pop acts around this time and even today. In fact, I think this might actually fit better today than it did when it came out in 2009, because of the more downbeat nature of pop music. It's getting more melodic nowadays. It wasn't as melodic in 2009. So we are on Swing, and I don't know if I personally like the sound of this album as much. I mostly picked it for variety reasons. This song in particular kind of sounds like it comes straight out of an Apple commercial with like the xylophone and the chugga 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 bass and overall kind of structure of the song. The vocalist is very soulful, and she is by far the best part of this song. But as a whole, I don't think I really love it. I don't think I would come back to this in the same way I might on an older album, but maybe I'm also not the target demographic for it. We are on Everything Up, Zissou. I don't know if Zissou is the person they got to feature on it, because this is, I don't think, the standard vocalist. But this is a much better song. It's still very pop-oriented, but I think it's a little bit closer to the old album than it was like a few songs of this album. all kind of has like that sort of space-aged, dreamy, trip hop, dream pop sound to it. And this is the best song so far. We are on Pop Art Blue featuring Martha Tilston. This is also a really good song. A lot more minimalist than other songs on this album, kind of going back to that sort of relaxing kind of atmosphere of the previous album that I went into. And I kind of like that sound too. Also has like the jazz elements and the unique instrumentation. So overall, I think it's a really good song. We are on Medicine Man now. This is the second of 5 songs featuring Eska. And this is very gospel sounding, very soulful, and I really like it. The instrumentation is not anything to write home about, unlike some songs on this and the last album. But not everything needs to be blow your socks off amazing, and this is amazing by just being minimal and doing what it needs to do. So I give it applause for that. We are on Ghost Symbol now. This is featuring Jackie Daniels, and I have no idea what the fuck I am listening to at this point. It's really interesting. I like it. It sounds like somebody like put an Atari 2600 in a black hole, and like the vocals are all slowed down. There's like a weird just symphony of out of key synthesizers. There's this weird like stereo moving back and forth effect in my headphones. I love it, but definitely for the more experimental of us. All right, we are on Sleeper. This is the third of 4 tracks featuring Eska. I said it was 5 earlier, but the one is just a remix of Medicine Man. I am really starting to like this album. I think the style of it, the more pop direction, kind of had to wear on me a little bit. But all in all, it's pretty good. This track is definitely the poppiest of the pop songs on here so far. Very simple. Not to say that it's, without merit. It's a good song. But, like, the instrumentation is a little bit more simple as compared to things off of this album, not in general. And it's a very kind of verse-chorus type thing. So we are on Solastalgia. Not really much to say, just an instrumental that exists. So we are on The Road. This is the final track with Eska, and this is pure gospel. Like, I don't know if there's any actual, like, religious meaning behind it, but it definitely has, like, that 50s and 60s choir gospel sound to it. And it is really good. It's a pretty downbeat ballad, and not much more to say other than it's done really well. So we are on All of Us, just kind of an instrumental, kind of weird, trippy kind of thing. Mostly just a bunch of noise mixed together. Not really much to say on it. It does what it does well. We are on Methods. This is the final track on the album, and a really good track to close on. Very low-key, very kind of soft and relaxing, very trippy. It sounds like something off of like Dark Side of the Moon or Pink Floyd or something like that. It is really nice. It has a lot of good instrumentation. So overall, I will admit I wasn't 100% thrilled with this album when I first listened to it, but it has really grown on me and shares a lot more similarities to the original album than it initially seemed at first. So I will come back in 24 hours and give my final conclusion on this band and the albums that I've listened to. Well, ladies and germs, we are back. It's been 24 hours, and I guess that means I have to give an opinion on this whole 0-7 type business. So, first album, When It Falls. I love the instrumentation, and I love the overall vibe of this, and actually, Yeah Ghost as well. I can just talk about them both. They both have this sort of acid blues, acid rock, jazz fusion type thing, and it really works. Coupled with the really nice vocals of people like Sia, Moses, Sophia Baker, and it just really sounds nice. Yeah, Ghost might be a little bit more accessible to some people because of the more pop direction that it went in, which does seem a bit ironic in hindsight, considering in 2020, Sia is one of the biggest pop stars of all time, and she was on the less poppy 0-7 album. But I love the instruments. I love just the overall vibe. This is one of those Journey albums. You know what I mean? Like, one of those albums that you kind of need to listen to understand and better appreciate music as a concept. So, overall, both are very good albums. I recommend them both to fans of trip hop. I recommend at least Yeah Ghost to fans of pop. And I recommend it to me because it got me into 0-7. So that's the end of this video. Be sure to check out my co-host Tyler's series where he tries to get into prog music. Also check out the other videos in my series if you haven't already. And be sure to check in next week when I try to get into Rob Dugan. At least that's the pronunciation my text-to-speech on my phone gave me. So, sorry if I said your name, Mr. Dugan.